Welcome to VP Leadership Podcast, where real leaders are made. I'm your host, Bill Purvis, and today's episode is our second in the final part of our conversation with Officer Kevin Baldwin. And we're going through a series now called Back the Blue, and we're learning a lot of things about the police job, law enforcement, and things that Kevin has experienced about fighting with people that are random people on the busy highway, about dangerous situations he's been in, lessons he's learned about reading people and situations, and things he's understood about law enforcement. Great subject today. You're going to enjoy, my friend. I look forward to it, so let's get started. Now, let me ask you, your values in life, what is it that you treasure the most? What are the things that are important to you?
Family.
Yeah.
Family is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I love my family.
Yeah.
My kids, my wife, we love them. We
Yeah.
love our kids and our family.
I can see that. We did this marriage retreat, and I watch you and Trish, and y'all are always in love and always affectionate and look like you're happy together. And you may have had, like all of us, a fight before you came, but we wouldn't know. But it's easy to see that your value. And one of the things you got, Kevin, that really is big, it's a spirit of honor. I always say when you're talking to somebody, listen for a sound of honor. And this morning when I mentioned your name to my wife and said, I can't wait to go over there and do this podcast with Kevin, she said, I got to tell you, Kevin has got the greatest honor. She said, I'm telling you, Bill, he's always respectful and honoring and kind. And she said, I just love him. And she said, his wife, Trish, will seek me out every time that she sees me just to come up and say she loves me and be around me. And so y'all really displayed that real well.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you got a great wife and an awesome son, too.
Yes,
I met
sir.
him. And I met him one time, and then about 4 months later, I saw him again, and he looked like he'd grown 3 inches.
Yes, sir. He's growing a lot.
He's hitting that stage.
Yeah, he's hitting
now.
that stage now.
Now, what's his favorite sport?
Basketball.
Okay. All right.
And what does he want to do in life? He wants to play in the NBA.
Hey, go at
Tell
it.
him to go get it.
That's
Go do
right.
it. You can do it.
You
can
know,
do anything.
Yeah, we have people right here at the church that have played in the pros, both basketball, football, baseball, and they came out of a family that, you know, that it was a big change out there, and they came out of a family in Columbus that may not have ever had anybody in their family that played in the pros, but they set a dream and they retired from it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
now some of them in football walk a little. They walk real slow now.
The injuries.
Yeah, we got a couple of pro football players, and when they come in, they're slow getting down the aisle. And I said, everybody knew their name, but now they spend all the time at the doctor's office.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
I know. Now, let me ask you this: when you're on if you pull somebody up and start talking to them, can you tell if they're guilty of something, or if they're lying to you, or if they're just nervous? Can you kind of pick what that is?
Right. Yeah. It's there are certain indicators you can pick up on people. You can always tell if a person is truthful. Like when I was in traffic, and an indicator to me would be when I request to see your license, and you pat your pants. Oh, I left them at home.
Right.
That indicates to me that, hey, your license may be suspended.
Yeah.
You know, those are indicators like that. Or when you stop people, they want to get out of the car. You always explain to them, for your safety and my safety, please remain inside the vehicle.
Right.
Because that's an indicator they might want to flight. You know, the flight syndrome.
Yeah.
The deer in the headlights.
Right. Now, have you ever had to wrestle somebody down?
I've been in some pretty good. I've been in some pretty good fights and scuffles.
Yeah.
I'll tell this story.
Right.
Years ago, I was we were on a detail. It was a DUI detail before I left traffic, and I had this young African American young lady pull over on Manchester Expressway, and everything was calm. Now I'm out on traffic with her, and out of the blue, there's this guy running down Manchester, running across the 6-lane highway on Manchester, screaming at me, telling me that people were trying to kill him, and I don't know what was going on with him, and he and I got into a scuffle. I ended up tasing him, and it was. I probably shouldn't be telling that, but it was pretty interesting. I mean,
and that tase thing will light you up, won't
the
it?
taser works.
How many volts is in that thing?
I want to say, don't quote, I think it's 50,000 votes.
Whoa.
I think.
Gosh. So now if you tase somebody and they're holding on to somebody else, they both get it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if only if you touch the probe. Like
Okay.
it shoots 2 probes.
Okay.
So if you touch that probe, yeah, it's gonna shock you.
Yeah.
Right.
And they'll stay down quite a while.
Oh yeah, it'll keep you down as long as you keep pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
It'll keep you down.
Now, is it the kind that has the wire to it that shoots out? Does the
Correct.
wire stick to you, or is it just because it's electric?
There's 2 probes at the end of the wire. When the wire shoots out, it shoots 2 probes.
And so that's what sticks.
That's what sticks into your skin.
Yeah. Good night. I know. I've seen some pictures of that before. Watched them on video on YouTube, and I said, "Man, that's a feel there."
It works.
Yeah,
it works.
It'll start your heart. For sure.
Oh yes.
Or stop at one.
Stop at one.
Yeah. Gosh, but it's really a good safety measure. It's the best way to keep from really injuring them.
Right. I think it's one of the best tools in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Rather than going hands on, it's better than the pepper spray.
Yeah. I know.
Pepper spray get all over you.
Yeah, and there are some cases when people get real bad on drugs. I've seen them be sprayed with pepper spray, and it didn't affect them.
All right, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Now, will a taser stop them if they're high on drugs?
No, it's not. It's the same effects because
Really?
they're going through that excited delirium is what it's called.
Really?
So
their adrenaline's just so high,
right,
that they can't feel that because it overrides it.
Correct.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. I would think 50,000 votes. You got to have a lot of drugs in you to overcome 50,000 votes. But at the same thing, I could see it because I've actually seen pictures of it.
Right.
So that's crazy. Now the situations you go into that are dangerous that you say, I got there and it was really more dangerous than I thought, and you felt it and had to call for backup, things like that.
Yes, I remember years ago. I was in patrol and we were at a bar over here off of Lincoln Street, Manchester, 17th, and there was just 2 of us there at the beginning.
Yeah.
There's like 300 people out there, and just 2 uniformed officers. And the people started surrounding us because we was fighting a guy.
Right.
It was a little club. I don't think it's open no more. And we was fighting this guy, and all of a sudden the crowd surrounded us, and it's just like me and another officer.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to see the cavalry show up because it could have really turned bad.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing I wish people would understand. You guys are and ladies are making the streets safer, making the life safer for all of us. I never thought I'd see a day where we have to even announce back the blue, but because I thought that was just in the heart. We ought to.
Right.
And they don't realize that y'all are on call 24/7 and that you're working at the midnight when everybody else is sleeping, and that whatever was behind a door, when you go knock on that door, you're taking that risk. And I just wish people would teach their children respect law enforcement. I think one of the last signs of a dying world or a world that's gotten really far from God is as when we have rejected all authority, and one indication is when we resist or reject human authority like law enforcement.
That's true. I agree.
Yeah, because a lot of us, I guarantee the people that show you disrespect also probably show their parents disrespect, every employee disrespect. It's just who they are. Don't
respect themselves.
Yeah.
So that's true.
And that's the bad part of it. Right. But the good is you guys make a big difference.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah,
it's hard sometimes. We try.
Yeah, and I don't know that you get thanked like you should. And I remember one year I wanted to do something really well. I wanted to let's do some kind of a Christmas gift. It was like monetary for a lot of the police in town, and it was a big one that was publicly going to know. And then a judge had told me, he said, you can't really do that because it looks like you're buying off. And all that. And he said, if they pull you over next week, they have a problem, you might get away because some kind of law that. So he said, well, what can we do?
Right.
And he said, well, if you know him as a friend and know him personally, you can.
Right.
But we were going to try to bless the whole department.
Right.
And we were told, that there's all these restrictions. So kind of like pastors, everybody's eyes are on you, and you have to play above the line at all times.
That's true.
And even when sometimes it would be, when you could just be normal and be a citizen, they're always looking at you through the eyes.
Right.
You wear that badge.
That's right. That's true.
Now, are your parents still living?
No, my parents died several years ago. Yeah, my father he served in the United States Army. He did 22 years there, and he worked at a place called Pasco Steel and did like another 20. And my mother died 2 years later in 2005. And she was like a nurse practitioner.
Right.
And I still miss her to this day.
Yeah, I bet.
Miss her to this day.
Well, she sure raised a good boy, I can tell you that.
I miss both of them
yeah,
to this day.
They raised a son they'd be proud of, I know. And now, were you in the law enforcement at the time that they had passed away? They got a chance.
That's correct. Oh, yes. I was in law enforcement. I was in traffic. My dad was my cheerleader. He used to love to see me pull up on the motorcycle, that big hog.
Right.
He would watch me pull up and sit there and watch me pull off. So, yeah, they got to see me
How about that?
graduate the academy and advance in the traffic. So, yes.
That's a big one. Kevin, a lot of people don't have the relationships at home, or they never had that kind of relationship. So you were blessed by that. They deposited in your soul and spirit some good stuff.
Yes.
And it's come out too.
Yes.
And I want to tell you, Kevin, of all the, I know a lot of people, but there are certain people I know I can just relax with, and I know they have your best interest in mind, and they have your back. And I feel that way with you.
Yes, sir.
I feel that way with my family around you. I feel like, if there was any threat or danger or whatever, my family could call on Kevin.
Yes.
And I believe that.
Yes, sir.
You're as good as they come.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad for your faith. I'm thrilled. It's crazy is I just look at how God brought you, and comes in through one way through the security out there, the parking lot, then into the building for security, and then coming to God. And I think that's a story that hopefully a lot of people will see is just letting God navigate their life wherever He takes them. If the job puts them there or opportunity puts them there, that may be where God wants them at that moment. And they may not even know God, but if they'll just be where they are and be a little bit attentive to that moment, I think that God will use even that to draw them.
Yes, sir.
And you've modeled that out. And now, what are your plans in life? Any big dreams? Anything that?
Well, not really yet. I'm in investigations now, so I want to try to do maybe about 7, maybe 8 more years. And law enforcement. Maybe after that, just retire and go fishing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now, with the investigations, is that crime like murders and stuff like that?
No, so I'm in a unit that's called the Columbus Police Department Property Crimes Unit. We basically investigate burglaries, stolen vehicles, felony thefts, a little bit of everything, depending on what it is. And I really enjoy it because it's very challenging.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to always solve that case right then and there.
Right.
But then maybe 18 months down the road, you get a big lead and then you solve that case. And it is so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's rewarding.
That's when you find that missing piece of the puzzle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And sometimes you ever think, God, it was right in front of me. I don't know how I missed that one.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It's right there. Just don't have enough to put that puzzle together like you was just describing.
Right. Yeah.
And then you get that piece of that puzzle, and then you get the break in it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it.
There's a Columbus is known for years ago, and this is before your time, I think, that stocking strangler murder deal that was in Columbus. That's, wherever I go, if I meet somebody, I met somebody a while back in Siesta Key, Florida, and it was one of the chiefs down there, police in the Siesta Key, Sarasota area. And the minute he found out it's from Columbus, the stocking strangler case. And all these detectives, wherever I go just about in the country, they know that case. Yeah. And that was probably what put, in a bad way, some of the Columbus on the map. But also, I think it was like police were all hands on board trying to solve that one.
That's correct.
And what was that? Was it like nine ladies that were killed, something like that?
I think it was somewhere around there.
Yeah, 7 or 9, something like that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was a gentleman or a guy that was breaking in houses of older widow ladies and strangling them with pantyhose. And some cases they died, 1 or 2 cases they didn't. But that was one of those. Was that just before your time? Or?
It was before my time.
Yeah.
It was before my time.
Yeah. Do y'all ever study that case or look at that or anything?
No, I have not. I haven't looked at it, but it might sound like something to look into.
Yeah. I read about it later. Somebody put it in a report. I said, I'm going to read that.
Right.
And I read about it and just saw kind of all the things. And it had in fact, I knew a husband who was going to church on a Sunday morning, and his wife had tore her pantyhose. And she said, would you run down to the store? It's right down the street. And they lived in that area. And get me a pair of pantyhose. He said, sure. He walked out, got in his car. Then he said, whoa, no. And he went back in. He said, you're going to have to go without them today. He said, every police in town is looking for somebody buying pantyhose. And I remember that was, he said that was such a high alert.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, that's great. But he said, I had to think about even that. I'd be a suspect being a man in this neighborhood going over there. And so, because it had been national. It was a big deal. And I know a lot of the older policemen were a part during that time.
Yes.
And so, but you guys, now, y'all basically, the thing I like about it is y'all are doing constant training. So y'all train on weapons and train on computers and everything you can possibly train on.
Columbus Police Department is one of the best departments in the Southeast.
Yeah.
We go through a lot of extensive training. Mm-hmm. When you're hired on with Columbus, and I always tell the police department, people always ask me about, law enforcement, policing.
Right.
And I always tell Columbus Police Department, for one, you're going to get the best training. You go through the academy, it's like 10 or 12 weeks, I think. Once you come out of the academy, then we have in-house training where you're assigned to training and you learn the policy and procedures of the department.
Right. And
then you go from there and you'll write with FTO, and there's like 3 phases. So it's almost like a year before you actually become solo. And, I mean, we have one of the best departments training, in the Southeast of Georgia.
I've heard that. I've heard that it really, that's one of the things. A lot of people go from here to other places, and, after they get training here and go to other places and become stars on their police departments because of training here.
That's true, because of the training here.
Now, what all have you learned as in all these years? One is about people and about society. Any lessons you'd learned? You said, "This is some takeaways I got."
So, a couple takeaways. I learned policing is basically treat everybody the way you want to be treated. Treat people with respect.
Right.
You can't talk down to people. There may be times where you have to talk to people in a certain way, but you always want to de-escalate any situation that you're involved in.
Yeah.
And you have to be safe. The job is, 90% common sense.
Yeah.
And then, there's that other 10% where, every day is different. You might be in a calm situation.
Right.
Then the next minute you might be in a gunfight.
Yeah.
Fighting for your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It changes quickly.
It changes quickly.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is it for our conversation with Kevin Baldwin here on the BP Leadership Podcast. And you are in for a treat because Bill's next guest in the next podcast is none other than the man himself, Neil Stillwell. For those of you that don't know who Neil is, he is just a legend around this local Columbus, Georgia area and Phoenix City. He is the man with the golden touch. He has taken companies and made them into multi-million-dollar companies. Not once, not twice, but over 3 times has he done this with different companies. He is just so wise when it comes to business. But not only that, he has the biggest heart, just a kind heart, and he loves God. So you are in for a treat as you hear this podcast coming up soon with Neil Stillwell. So make sure that you stay tuned and hit the subscribe button so that you get notified as soon as that podcast airs. Thank y'all again for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time, and remember that this is where real leaders are made.